Hello, Just Jax here and welcome to my channel. And this is part 2 of, what should we call it? Midnight Cats? Work in progress. So in the previous part we just did a little sketch work working out how we want the layout to be. And a few notes as to what's where, what colours are where, little points of reference. And so today in this one we're going to start applying some colour. So we've done a loose sketch. We've got our 2 cats, our moon, our building of some such, garage, a little bush in the background and a little tree up the corner, or hint of a tree. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to do the background. So we've got some water, we've got our paints, we've got brushes, we now have palette. So, first things first, I'm undecided as to whether to do a test piece first, because I do like to do a test piece. But we're not going to be doing any stars or anything like that on top of it, so don't know whether to just be bold and go straight on the canvas. I know we want mainly ultramarine blue and just plain purple, so there isn't a whole lot of, what would it be, sort of segments in the background. It's all rather blended. It's sort of more blue at the top, a little bit more purple in the middle and a little bit more blue down the bottom here. So we're going to go for a wash and build it up. Not worried about going over the bushes because the bushes are going to be darker than the sky. I'm going to refrain as much as I can from going over the cats, but we can always re-white them before we start applying detail to them, because I don't want there to be, you know, you want the background to all be smooth, you don't want it to have a start and a stop. So I think we'll probably go right over everything, including the moon, because we will re-white that like we did in Starry Night Sky. So I think what we'll do first, we've got a selection of brushes here. I'm thinking we might go big. I might try this one. Do something a bit like that. We don't need to go all the way down, we can stop. Maybe we could go all the way down there, can't we? Across there. Straight across, straight across, straight across, straight across, straight across, straight across. So let's get some blue out to start. Maybe should we get the second palette? So we can keep the blue and purple separate until we apply them, so we don't end up with a merge in the middle there. I think we will. So let's get the second one. It should be just in here. So, ultramarine blue to start. We get a couple of little pools there. And just plain purple. I'll use this one just to get it out. I'll put a splodge of that in there. And a splodge of that in there. Let's just, while this paintbrush is all purpled up, let's just get some of that purple in the middle and break it down. And like with Cosmic Cats, when we're making a wash and we're using water, we want to break that pigment all the way down so there's no grainy bits left in it. We want this to be smooth as silk when we apply it. So let's wet that right up. A bit more. Okay, that should be good. We'll keep that brush on the ready for the second, so we might need him again. And same over this side. Let's get another one for, we'll get you. We'll get you. And let's wet some of this blue right down. And wet you right up. And again, break you right down so we don't have any specks of pigment as we apply this. We want it to apply as smooth as silk, like we just said. Let's water it right down. Even more watery still, that's still far too thick. We might do like we did in Cosmic Cat and build this up with a couple of layers. We'll see how the first one applies. Still a bit too thick. Almost ink-like. That's looking like it's getting there. It's a little bit on the thick side. Let's have a look. In fact, I think we'll be all right because we're going to apply it with a wet brush as well. So let's see what we got here. Keep that there for a moment. Right, so it was going to be blue across the top, more purple, more blue. So let's see, get a real wet brush here. I'm going to try and do this. This is definitely going to take more than one layer. Again, we're going to try our best to go straight from one end to the other. Which is much easier said than done. Water. This is where we're going to start to bring in the purple. Let the water work its magic. I'm going to try and keep this as even as possible across. A bit more water, a bit more purple. try and put as little pressure on this as possible, and back to the blue. Quite nice as it is, we just need a little bit darker. So yeah, this is definitely going to take more than one layer. We're just going to go in case we've made any specks, and you'll also see at this point if there's any pigment dots. Back to the purple. This is also going to be a bit of a slow process initially as we get in the background sorted. This is going to have quite a bit of drying time in between things. So for me this is going to take a while. For you guys out there it won't take quite so long, so you won't be there waiting for it to dry. Well, not when you're watching. When you're doing yourself you will be. I'm going to try and push all those bits over the edge. Now, as our first layer, that's about all we can do initially, because that's got to dry. And we're going to have a look at how we're going to darken it up. Get some of that excess off the edge. Because we're going to need it to be a bit darker than this, but not too dark. But then I'm hoping with the layers, like with Cosmic Cat, as we layer up, it will get a little bit bolder and a little bit darker. So at the moment I'm thinking this is going to take, let's rest that there for a second, we'll clear that up properly in a moment. 2 or 3 layers at the moment, because we don't need it to be as vivid as the background for the Cosmic Cat. Clean that up properly in a moment. Same for this one. But we do need it to be consistent and a little bit bolder than it is right now. So, nothing else I can do right now apart from let this dry. And as you can see, we've got the odd little pigment dot, but I'm not too worried about that right now because we're doing more than one layer. I'll worry about it if the second layer starts to show them too much, or if any more slip through the system. So that's our background at the moment. We're gonna, let's just see what that looks without the light. I think I did this in Cosmic Cat. You can still see it brighter than I can. I'll put the light back on. As if I bring it all the way down. Not too bad. Back up. We're going to have a ring there, but that's while it's wet. So let's just get that nice and bright again. So yeah, we're just going to leave that to dry. This isn't going to be the end of another part just yet. This is literally just a pause while we wait things to dry. Otherwise each part's only going to be like 10 or so minutes long. I try to compile them a little bit chunkier than that. So yes, we're going to have a pause on my end. Let this dry. Come back again in about a couple hours. Yeah, this is going to be a time one. So yeah, I will see you again in a moment. This is not the end of part 2. This is just a pause on my end. So, like I say, for you, I will see you again in just a moment. And in the meantime, I'll try not to move the canvas. I'll try to keep it exactly where it is. Because it's just got to dry and it's in a nice flat surface and there's nothing else I'm doing right now. But I will, while I'm waiting for that to dry, make the opportunity to sort out my tomatoes, because I've pulled a load of tomatoes down. The fridge is full to the brim of them, so I'm thinking tomato soup at some point. And get some other bits prepared for other projects that I can record in between this one. Fingers crossed. So yeah, see you in a moment. Okay, and we are back. It is dry enough for our next layer. The only thing I did while the camera was off was put some cling film over the palettes so they didn't go to waste. And cleaned the brushes up a bit better. All that there for now. So much like in the first layer, we're just going over again with a really watery blue and a really watery purple. Ultramarine blue and just plain purple, and applying it with a wet brush. So this is where we're going to start to see more of the true colour. As it grips to itself a little bit better. I've still got that incredibly creaky chair. I'll try and creak it as little as possible. So ultramarine blue up top, purple in the middle, and then ultramarine blue down the bottom again. And this is already looking much better. Not to put a brush stroke right in the middle. And try and pull it right over the edge. And some purple. Back to blue. We'll have to prep up some more because this is about to run dry. But we'll probably prep some more for layer 3. So I think at least 3 layers as we're looking at it right now. Tiny bit more with a big brush, as long as we make sure we haven't got any blobs stuck on the side we just dipped in. Now we don't mind if there's a hint of streak going on. It'll sort itself out as it's really watery. I'm going to try and remember to put it right over the end. That's going to be layer 2, sorry. So again, like I said, this is going to be a slow process for me initially. I think we will stop at 3 layers. That proper clean in a second. So we'll cover all this all up for one more layer. I don't think we need the blue and purple after this, though we might do. So I'm thinking of when we put in the bush down here and the little leaves up here, we might do a subtle wash over the top of those, just so they're not in your face. They're in the distance, they're brought down by the darkness of the sky. So I think we'll do them in between. No, we'll see how this dries. If this dries a little bit more bold than it is right now, then we will put the leaves in and the bush in first and then do a final wash over that. Or we'll do a third wash, let it dry, put the leaves and the bushes in, and then put one more over the top of that. So that'll be what we decide at that point. We're not going to white up anything until we've finished with the background, because there'll be no point. So once we've decided what's going on up here, and what's going on over here, and what's going to go on over the top of all that, it'll be after that point that we'll white in the cats and we'll get a bit more detailed with their shape. But that's when the white will come into play and checking out their reference images. So yeah, can't be summing up too much more than that. We'll make a decision after this lot has dried. This is fine as it is, because this is going to be the palest bit. We'll need to bring it back a notch, but I don't want to, because this is a pale wall. This one I could probably paint in alongside the leaves and the bush, but not sure, because this needs a real subtle wash over the top of it. But I don't think we're going to go with a blue wash over the top of that, because then it's just going to look like a blue wall, and we just want it to look a little bit dark. We don't want it to look, it's like, how would I describe this? If I were to just paint this an off-white, it would still look like it's lit up. It still wouldn't look like it was a nighttime scene. The cats I want to be as bold as possible, because even though they're just little guys here, they're pretty much like the feature. So I want them to be as clear as possible. I don't really want to muddy them up with a wash afterwards. And obviously the moon's not going to have a wash, that's going to be nice and bold. But this might be a little test piece that we do when we get to that bit of how we're going to make this look like it's being dimmed by the darkness of the night, without it looking like it's a completely different wash altogether. So I don't know if we'll go for a really, really, really watered down pale grey with a tiny, tiny, tiny hint of blue in it. That might do the job. But then that might be the best one to do overall for the features. But then it's going to intrude on the sky, and we don't really want that to be, we're happy with where that's at. We don't really want that to be any more or less than it ends up being. We do see we have, I don't know if we can get that water maybe. There's a little, there we go, there's a couple of little bits we just need to break down with a wet brush, flicking it around so we don't have the purple invade the blue too much. So yeah, that's where we're at again. Another pause, for me anyway, to let this dry. And then we'll decide what we're going to do. We might paint this piece in, because we can paint that in, because we're going to go over the rest of this with white anyway. I think if we do that, we'll wait until we do these bits. And we'll probably, yeah, we'll do this bit and this bit before the cats. The cats are going to be the last thing added, because we're going to white up where they were, or where they are. Since we're going to do that, it doesn't matter if we go over the tails, because we're going to white them up too. Otherwise we'll have, you know, there'll be a bit of a shift between their bodies and their tails. So that's the plan as it stands. Let this dry, have a look, see when we come back, and then decide whether we're putting anything else in before a wash, or if we're going for another wash and then put details in and then a subtle wash over the top of that. We'll have to decide. So another pause, another covering up of the palettes, because we are going to be using them still. And I will clean the brushes and see you in but a moment. See this canvas again in another couple hours. So, back in a moment. Okay, we are back. This is fully dry. I was having a think, and this I might have this bolder than I originally planned. We'll see how it looks, because again this is going to be a stop and start frame as we get another layer on, and then let it dry again. I decided one thing, and that was that it's definitely going to have another layer before we think about anything. Still got plenty of blue to work with, we still should have plenty of purple. Before we think about adding any detail anywhere, I think we're definitely going to go for at least one more coat, see how vivid it looks then, because we want it to be a night sky. The image I got is grainy, but I don't want to be trapped in that thought of then the big image has to be grainy. It doesn't. It can be nice and clear. So let's just whip up some more blue. Plenty and plenty of water. I've got some nice clean water as well in the meantime. And this in the end was an overnight waiting for it to dry. That was unintended. It just suddenly got so cold yesterday. I think it's called Reynolds phenomena, and it's just basically poor circulation, so my hands more so than anything tend to suffer with it most, and basically my fingertips start to go numb and they go white, and I can't really work with them until I get the blood flow back. So I had to pause for quite a while and warm up, so I decided I'd just leave it at that point, let this have a thorough dry overnight, have a think about what I want to do and how I want it to look, and then come back to it fresh in the morning. So that's what I've done. Right, we've got a nice blue there sorted out, so let's just do the same with the purple. and really, really runny. Make sure we get rid of all these lumps. Being rather brave here, brave or foolish, take your pick, in mixing this over the canvas I've just worked on. I'm really confident in having a steady hand right now, so I'm not worried about having any silly mishaps. But by all means, don't do this yourself unless you are equally feeling confident and foolish. Pop it to the side. Otherwise you'll have one of those moments that we all do where you see something coming but you persist anyway, and then it happens. Right, let's get our big, I think this is a 1.5. Yeah, 1.5 inch. So we're going to wet that. So we're doing this with a wet brush. Soak up some of that ultramarine blue. And then let's get another layer on. And we are just reiterating, we're just going to do this in nice smooth from one side to the other fully strokes. So we're going to try and remember to always bring it over the edge. We're not putting a whole heap of pressure on it. Little hair creeping in there from one of my girls. I want that gone. They do get around, so do mine. I try to keep an eye out for them. Otherwise you'll have what looks like a random wibbly line of paint. It's just a hair. That's why I try to work with my hair tied back. Otherwise I end up a little piece of me in everything I do. You don't always want that. Right. I think I'll just bring a bit more blue down here. That little crossover. And up here. Right. We are going to let that dry again. We are going to let that dry again, so take this opportunity to clean everything up, ready to go again once it's dry. Now, again, for me, a couple hours time, so I will go and get some random house things sorted, make a bit of tidying up and whatnot. And then I will come back, and for you it will be, oh, but a moment. So there we go, this is layer 3. As I was saying, I was thinking about this last night, and the whole grainy aspect, which is nice. I want to keep that to a degree, but I want it to be bold. So I think we're going to go one more layer, but I might go blue right across the board, just to bring these sections in a little bit, because they're still kind of chunked off to one another. So I think I'm going to bring a blue right across the board on the next one and see how that looks, and then decide from there. We'll also do, because I was thinking about this as well last night, a little test piece for this. So on the test piece we'll paint up whatever colour, a few squares of whatever colour we decide this is going to be in the daylight, and then we're going to have different washes run over the top to see if we can get the depth and the colour and the tone that we want. Because, like I say, we want it to not look like painted dark white. It needs to look like it's been engulfed by the night, just like everything else apart from the cats. Like I say, I want those to be a popping feature. Nice and clear, nice and in focus, not grainy. That and the moon. So yes, we will have a pause on my end, but back in just a moment on your end. Okay, we are back. This is dry enough to try that coat, or that wash of blue. So let's get some blue prepped again, and the wash of blue is going to go right over this time. So that was the one. Let's get this loaded up. Blue wash all over. Let's get some more blue wash put together. Make it a little bit runnier than that. So the fourth coat in our version is going to be a blue one, and this is going to go straight over, apart from the little white square down the bottom there. We're still going to leave that for the time being. And that's looking washy enough. Make sure there's no blue pigment patches anywhere. Right, pop that back down there for a moment. Get our brush nice and wet. Soak up a load of paint, and let's go blue across the board. Definitely a good call. It's already looking less like blue, purple, blue, and more like one nice big blend. That's looking much better. I think as it stands, looking at it right now, I'm going to do one more blue wash across the whole thing, apart from this square still, and then we'll look at it again, see if the sky's where we want it before we move on to any other bits. I think after the next layer we'll put the bush in, since that's quite far back. Maybe stick another layer over that, then look at the leaves, stick another layer over everything, and then look at this, because it's sort of building it up as to what's where. The bush is going to be right far back, so that's going to be quite a bit darker than everything else. The leaves will probably be the next closest object, but it's still going to need to be a little bit darked out. And then the building, and that can be a little bit darked out, and then we can whiten the cats and whiten the moon. Well, we'll probably do the moon first. We'll white out the cats and white a little bit of the moon area, and then we'll pop the moon in, and then we'll look at the cats, because the cats are going to be, that's where all our attention to detail is going to be. That's where we're going to have more than a minute's worth of recording. And where you'll actually see something start to take shape. But the background's looking lovely. Once again, we've got a slightly different take on a sky. It's the Starry Night sky. That was quite a streaky sky. The cosmic background, that was splotches, I think would be a good word for it. Splotches of purples and blues with a hint of silver. And then this is more of a blend right across, slightly more smooth, less streaks. So yeah, looking good. Hopefully this won't take too long to dry. It's getting a tiny bit quicker as we go, because they're getting, like with Cosmic Cats, a tiny bit thicker each time, but only a tiny bit, like nothing major, nothing too obvious. So yeah, we will let that dry. So again, another couple hours for me, but a moment for you. Yeah, and we'll come right back. So again, this video is going to be a bit of paint. Well, we're back, bit of paint, see you again in a minute. That's pretty much where we're at. But yeah, going to be honest all the way through. Like I said, I don't need to appear like it's been just, you know, oh here we go, oh here we go. No, there are lots of breaks in between, especially when you're building up a background like this. But I think once the background's done, well, there'll be less starting and stopping anyway, but then I'll have the ability to move it, because I want to keep it flat. I don't want this to adjust what it's been doing at all right now. So we'll keep it flat until we get to that point. Then we can always pop it up and I can work on other things while there's bits drying. So yeah, see you again in a moment.